This DVD explores at greater length and more depth the people that I interviewed. The thing about the Parkinson show was that we were allowed the luxury of time. 20 minutes is the normal length for an interview. An hour, often we do that, a one-man show. And in the other DVDs we've done, what we've done is pick the gems out, if you like, from that, the short, sharp stuff. But now we're given a more reflective and more intense look at what we actually did. And you get a better sense, I think, in this DVD of the style of the show, because the people are allowed to actually express themselves more. And it's a celebration, actually, basically, as the other one was too, of the wonderful people I met. And this is much more about the great talkers, I think, than anything else. And a definition of why I've always thought that it was a privilege to actually do my job.
The Parkinson show had about 700, 800 hours of television, both here and in Australia, from about 1971, with a couple of breaks in between. What we've had to do is get access via the various people who hold the archive, the BBC, ITV, and some people in Australia, and literally just get every single available show that we've had on a format that we can view, and we've spent months just looking at every single show and looking at potential people that we thought were good, looking at the best bits from the interviews, and really just getting a treasure trove of material from which initially we created the first DVD, and now we've done doing the second one.
I feel it's spoiled for choice, quite frankly. I mean, when you think that, you know, there's over 2,000 people and they represent, of the time they were made, the greatest stars, if you like, of that period, and the greatest communicators.
Never think that you can write down an equation which, at the end of which, you say in a satisfactory tone of voice, that's fine, I have now proved loyalty to my country is more important than loyalty to the scientific tradition.
It demonstrates a different time, both in our lives and in television. It actually allows you to explore people who, not all of them, but some, brought up in a different generation than today. Today's generation could only imagine, basically. And also deals with people, including film stars like James Stewart and people like that, who actually fought a war and who were marked forever by what they did and what they saw, and who were informed by that war to the extent that being a film star was nothing. It was a walking stroll in the park, basically. So there's a different emphasis with people, and from the interviewer's point of view, it was a really golden period to talk to people.
I don't really have all the answers. I have very few of the answers, but for some reason, somehow, I make it. Yeah. I get through. When I'm at the head of the wagon train, for some reason, we get across the road.
All the material we want to use is assembled into what's called a rough edit. That's looked at by Sir Michael, and he comes back with a suggested script of how he will link all them together. And what we then have to do, obviously, is film those links. And this is what we're doing here today. We're filming these links. We're filming in front of something that's called green screen. What it means is that you can effectively place anything behind the person, so that when we film it today, we will literally have a green screen. When we go into the edit, we could put anything behind it. We could put him in, you know, the middle of the outback. We could put pictures of the people he's talking about behind him. So it just gives a bit more flexibility than the kind of bog standard, you know, piece to camera with a nice bit in the background. And given the length and the number of links that he has to do, it's a lot more easy for it to be varied without having to keep moving location all the time.
We'll feature, among others, Pete Ustinov, Sarah Rivers, Orson Welles, Richard Burton, Peter Sellers, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Caine, and Dame Judi Dench, and that's for starters. I love to play this game when I'm thinking about people I want to revisit, and I just sort of close my eyes and imagine the perfect show, or the people I particularly remembered and why. And that's all you have to do, is to just close your eyes for a moment. I have to do, and think back to when I said, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is, and down the stairs will walk somebody who turned out to be memorable. And that's really the test that we've applied to all these interviews. And a wide representation too. I mean, that was the interesting thing about the show. You know, we could talk to Edwardian gentlemen like Lord Porchester, who was a scoundrel and a wonderfully funny man. A scoundrel in the nicest sense. And we could talk to Dame Judi Dench. It just went on and on, the list of fascinating people we could talk to. It was not difficult to pick.
This DVD much more reflects what the Parkinson Show was about, which was allowing people to have more time to talk, to converse, and also have no limitation of what they could talk about. I mean, you know, Orson Welles is a prime example. I mean, in his particular section, he talks about bullfighting, clairvoyance, and being bugged by J. Edgar Hoover, you know, and then you have Jacob Aronofsky talking about Hiroshima, and then you have Jonathan Miller talking about having a stutter. So the range of it. So I think it's much more of a proper reflection of what the show is about, whereas the first DVD was almost like a taster, in the sense that we kind of just took little nuggety bite-sized pieces, which were very enjoyable. But both these DVDs are much more about the talent than they are about the interviewer.
Do you notice any difference? Not really, do you?
You do.
You don't mean makeup, you mean like to do like this or... Oh, sorry.
Yes. I love the fact that they said to you, what you're going to take on a desert island. You said makeup.
I think that every excerpt lives and dies by itself, basically. But there's a very wide range of subjects. I mean, that's, again, is a fascinating thing.
There is a finite number of people and finite number of projects you can do without it then becoming almost exploitative and almost indulgent, and I think that that's what you have to be careful of.
Well, the range is huge, and that again was the fascination of the job. You were allowed to actually in those days pick as guests people who today might struggle actually to be defined as a talk show guest. We were given complete freedom, and that was the joy of it, and that is what I think people will get from this DVD.
You were one of those song and dance men like Bruce Forsyth.
Actually, I could get lucky if I was like Bruce Forsyth. He might lie down under the interview.
You don't have to be Bruce Forsyth for me to do that, dear.
You don't.
I was much more gauche in those days. I'm suave, boulevardier. No, I mean, it's very, very embarrassing. I mean, I love watching old clips back, but if they take me out of them, I'd be far happier. If they expunge every memory I have of myself as a younger man. I mean, I think that quite obviously what you see from the very early ones to the more current ones is you see what happens to any interviewer, just a relaxing of style. The problem when I started, not a problem, but I was always a journalist, and therefore I was quite formal in my introductions to people, and Orson Welles once said to me, you know, don't call me Mr. Welles, I'm Orson, you know. I used to call him Sir, for God's sake. You know, it's very formal. What you do is learn to relax into that. First of all, you're a bit overawed by the celebrity, if you like, of people, by the fame, by the girth in Orson Welles' case. But then you learn how to relax into them and treat them as you should treat them, as a kind of equal. Not in stature, not in achievement, but in that moment in time when they are your guests and you're not theirs. So it changes the dynamic, and you can see that happening, I think. You get better as an interviewer as you get older. If you don't, you're in a certain amount of trouble.
Still red. Okay. Sound happy? Everyone happy? Okay. And action?
One of my very favourite interviews has to be with Bette Midler. Another worthy of the title National Treasure is Michael Caine. Dame Judi Dench. Peter Ustinov. Richard Burton. Joan Rivers. Winfred Vaughan Thomas. Very few could match Peter Sellers.
Looks good. Yeah, all right. Up to me, yeah, very good.
Eye sharp. Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. What happens after this is that we take away the film that we've done today, and it's very rough form. That then is also combined with the archive we've done. The Edit House, which is the BBC, they have to draw up every single master tape that we have used material from and put them into their edit machine. Then when we go in and edit, we then have to assemble every single piece of that footage together, and then we have to slot in the pieces of camera we did today. Then use the green screen the way we want to, smooth it all out, make it look great, make sure the sound works, the vision works, and then that's the project.
I've always thought that the archive of the Parkinson show was important, not because I'm important, but because I think because of the span of time that it covers. It represents changes in our society, changes in the way television particularly looks and sounds, and in the choice of guests. It's a 40-year social history in a sense of not just the show, of Britain, and the people who came on it represent the attitudes and complexions of the day. And I think that's fascinating too. And just the look of it too, from the very beginning to the end, just the look of the show. You know, those horrible furry backgrounds I used to have, you know, like described by one person as like a brothel for a hamster. He was sacked immediately.